I know that a lot of you guys actually just do your homework to get it over with. You don't do your homework to actually learn, and that's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about today is what kind of reward do you seek? Do you seek the reward of just getting it done, submitting to turnitin.com and crossing off your to-do list? The reward of one thing out of the way? Or are you seeking the reward to learn? When we talk about reward and punishment, it's not whether or not you get something. It's whether or not you think you will get something. How many of you all drive slowly in case there could be a police officer there? You don't drive? What about the speed cameras? Yeah. So what's interesting is the threat or the promise of a reward or punishment will. You don't even have to get it. You just have to believe you will. Nice. All right. So here we go. No, 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 no. Good. That's operant conditioning. Did it work? Yeah, I think it did. So let's do this. Let's define operant conditioning. We touched a little bit upon the idea of what is operant conditioning and what is classical conditioning, but let's go ahead and define it a little bit more. Operant conditioning is attaching a response to a voluntary action. Notice that in classical conditioning, the thing we're trying to learn comes before. The conditioned stimulus comes before. In operant conditioning, the thing you got to learn comes after. You're still not paying attention. Why are you flipping through your notebook? You don't know. Why'd you just shift your hands?
Because I wasn't paying attention.
Totally wrong answer. You're playing with your hair. Why? Do you know? You're playing with your pen. Do you even know why? You looked. Now you're trying biting your lip. Why? You're playing with your pen. Explain.
I'm bored.
So? Why'd you play with your hair? How many of you are like, oh crap, don't call on me? You're like beginning real still. Here's what I need you to write down in 2 lines high. Why 2 lines high? Because we're trying to kill trees. Trees make bad driving more dangerous. Seek reward 2 lines high, 18-point font. Seek reward / avoid punishment. Seek reward / avoid punishment. This is the thing to operant conditioning. Notice in classical, we didn't talk about reward or punishment at all. Why are you playing with your lip? Stop. No. Why are you doing this? All right. Why are you itching your back? Why are you putting on lip gloss? Why you got your hand to your mouth? Why are you like, all right then. No, no, no. The answer. Why? Who said that? All right. You get 1 sticker. You get a reward for answering the question about reward. The reality is, why did you copy down those things I told you to copy down? Why'd you? To seek a reward.
Like, what's the reward?
That's the magic question. Is it?
No.
Or are you trying to avoid the subtle punishment of the anxiety of the fact you missed something on which you might be tested? No doubt. Oh, your sticker's coming. I'm going to get you a used one. Is clicking your pen more interesting than not clicking your pen? No doubt. How many of you all have ever made a game up with your notebook and your pen?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal. We're talking about reward and punishment, everything you do. Now, you're like, well, see, when I say reward and punishment, a lot of folks are thinking getting an A, getting a raise, getting an F, getting a speeding ticket. Those are too big, too macro. I'm talking about micro rewards, micro punishments that happen every single second of the day. And what you might not realize is we are all doing about 10 behaviors at the same time. Right now, very few are paying attention. Let's talk about your moms. All right, it's kind of I don't know if that's reward or punishment. Depends what relationship you have. So, I want you to go in the kitchen, get yourself a clipboard, particularly like studious glasses, maybe some bifocals, get a lab coat if you got it, and sit there and watch your mom as she cooks up hamburger help or whatever, slop in the skillet and throws it in the trough, and the whole family eats it all up. I don't know what you do with your dinner time, but when your mom's cooking, I want you to like, It's like, honey, what are you doing? Subject displays curiosity. Your mom, honey, I don't think that's appropriate. Subject's getting angry. Why would you not do this? Because if you really look at a human being, they're doing about 10 things at once. Playing with a pen, shifting your seat, balancing your foot, playing with your hair, writing notes. And every single thing we do gets punished or rewarded. We don't know it, but it does. Be honest. That just never happened to me because I'm too slick. How many of you all have been so hungry at McDonald's or Burger King, you get your fries and you're shoveling in your mouth and have accidentally bit your finger because you mistaken it for a fry?
Or I bite my tongue. I had to go to the doctor.
Because you bit your...
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like 4.
Have you done it since?
No.
It's amazing how punishment works.
You're saying like how like if she was eating with the fries when she bit her finger, she's never done it again. Would biting your tongue be the same thing? Because people tend to do that a lot.
Yeah, people do bite their tongue. People do bite their tongue quite a bit and their cheek quite a bit. But right after you do it, are you very careful?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wouldn't it like last for a while? Like,
Ah.
your fingers and stuff?
Well, it would last for a while, but it depends on the severity of the punishment, which is why your parents' lectures never work. Oh, you're grounded for a little bit, but does it really change your behavior? No. I mean, you pretend like you're sorry for a day or two. All right, and then the end of the day, you go back to doing your same stuff over and over again. What reward are your parents seeking? If your parents are human, and maybe they're not, then ideally they're seeking a reward. They're the people you love the most. You're the person they love the most. Yet many people don't know what they want. Now, if you're evil and Machiavellian, how are you going to manipulate someone if you don't know what reward to give them? If you're caring, how are you going to improve their life if you don't know, if you can't give them what they want? Is there an ugly child out there?
Yeah.
I don't like being near ugly people. It makes me nervous.
You must not have a lot of mirrors.
Well done. All right, so let's go on. What reward is your mom seeking? And if you don't know, that's a weird thing. And that might kind of predict or foretell what we're going to look at in 2 other chapters at least. Number 1 is the emotional chapter. We got to look at this thing called empathy. Can you look through someone else's eyes? Can you figure out what they want? And number 2, the abnormal unit. Because if you don't have empathy, you will have mental problems. You will have problems with other people. So check this out. I'm suggesting your parents, more than anything else in the world, want 2 things: affection and appreciation. Very rarely have you given your mom a compliment or a hug for no reason whatsoever. Now, you say, I have. I disagree. I think the few times you've given your mom a hug for no reason is because you needed it.
No, my mom will look at me. She's like, "Can I have a hug?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "Hugs are different." She like makes me hug her.
There are so many issues in that dynamic right now. You need to run to the counseling office right now. That's not right. All right, let's take it out of your, parental thing where you got more issues in People magazine. Let's talk about this. What about this? What do your teachers want? To get paid? Well, if they want to be paid, they wouldn't be a teacher. Are there some teachers that want to prove how smart they are?
Yes.
Okay. It is annoying, and you're right. It is annoying, but I caution you this: at the risk of completely brown-nosing and selling your soul, if you got a teacher that wants to be the smartest person in the room and always know everything, what if after class you give them what they want? You reward them. And you say, wow, how do you know so much? Watch that teacher. They'll be all happy. Now, you're like, I'd never do it. But you know what you just did? In their mind, we're going to dip into classical conditioning. They have associated you with something good. And they're going to like you. Use your empathy and figure out now, do all teachers are the same way? Probably not. There's some teachers that need to have control. And they're going to enforce rules no matter what. I know a teacher that maniacally makes jokes in a way to cover up for internal pain. And that teacher needs to make a joke every 4 or 5 minutes. All right. I don't know who you're talking about. So now, all right. Can we please go back to something productive? Kind of the first major person of operant conditioning, dude's named Thorndike. He's got this thing called law of effect, and next to that, I really do want you to write DUH for duh, because he's kind of he and other people make psychology have a bad name. It's kind of the law of common sense. Psychology's been called the science of common sense because here's Thorndike's idea. The law of effect means consequences from an early action will predict the next action. Well, anyone knew that. I don't care if you have a caveman sitting around a freaking fire. You put your hand in the fire, you get a consequence, it burns. That will predict whether you put your hand in the fire again. Did Thorndike make a revolutionary contribution to humankind? Well, no, because people knew this. Where his contribution was, and I don't want to diminish it, was he wrote it down. Similar to Pavlov. Pavlov's had the idea of association. He wasn't the first one, but he wrote it down and made a science of it. Let's watch a little video on Thorndike. Okay, so what are we looking at this? Thorndike's major contribution is the idea, maybe we thought that animals learn through insight. But the reality is, as much as here's a word called, big fancy word, anthropomorphize. We say, my dog's learning, my dog's thinking. Thorndike disagreed. He said that animals act pretty much random until there's a reward. They didn't think it through, they didn't problem solve, they didn't plan. And what Thorndike then did was show this on data. And it kind of might be a precursor to modern education. Because I can never measure if you've learned, ever. I can only measure behavior based on data. Let's talk about B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner is the person for whom Principal Skinner was named on The Simpsons. Probably the second most famous psychologist. So even if you're not a psychology major, if you're just an educated citizen, you kind of got to know a little bit about B.F. Skinner, who he was and what he was all about. Skinner believed we're a product of our environment. Skinner was a great scientist. So he did have a theory, but he also did research. He backed it up with data over and over and over again. So one of the reasons we like operant conditioning is because it's real. You can measure it. You can predict it over and over and over again. If we're going to talk about Skinner, we got to talk about the concept of tabula rasa. Most people are going to consider that blank slate. The real translation is scratched slate, which means when you're born, you know nothing. Think back 2 units ago, we talked about sensation. Every minute of the day, thousands of sensations are hitting you. Some of those are going to be good, some of those are going to be bad, and they all shape us. Now, if you don't like who you are, if you don't think you're popular, you don't think you're funny, you don't think you're hardworking, why is he looking at me when I said that? All right, if you think these things about yourself, blame your parents. Blame your parents for who you turned out to be. So therefore, it is not fair of them to be disappointed in you because you are their creation. Let's look at how much parents have influenced you and or anyone. We're going to make ourselves a little graph. And graphs are the friends of lonely kids. So check this out. We got the idea of a y-axis and x-axis. On the y-axis, we're going to have parental influence. All right, and on the x-axis, we're going to have time. Now, at the very beginning of people's life, second day of life, parents bring you home from the hospital, and literally parents influence everything, or we don't want to say the word control, that sounds too nasty, but we are going to use the word control when we get to Skinner because we're talking about research. He controlled every variable of a rat's life, and to some extent your parents controlled every variable of an infant's life. When they eat, where they sleep, how warm the house is, how cold the house is, how many blankets, how many ounces of formula, they controlled everything. As time goes on, there's a perfect negative relationship. So obviously, the older someone is, the less their parents are involved. Okay, I get that. But let's look at the other half of this when we look at how much environment controls. When we look at the blue section, we got to look at other influences. Now, as you grow up, maybe it's older brother, sister, aunt, uncle, babysitter, friends, first grade, soccer coach, Mrs. Felderspar in 4th grade, more and more friends, increasing TV, internet time, all of these have an impact on us. They are sensations. They do, of course, make us act and think a certain way. So now comes the philosophical discussion. If you are at your age right now, how much control over what influences you do you have? Clearly, friends influence you. Can you fire a friend? Be like, look, it's just not working out. You're a bad influence. See ya. I'll give you 2 weeks. It'll be kind of awkward. I'll sit with you at lunch for 2 weeks, but after that, you got to move on. What about this? Do any of you all listen to music with potty words in it? Where the lyricist rhymes the word fire truck with another F word? All right? And if so, be like, yeah, but those things don't affect me. If music with certain lyrics don't affect you, why would you listen to it? Skinner was also an environmentalist. Again, not a hippie, crunchy kind that's about to save the spotted owls. One more time, he believed our environment is everything. So you can see Skinner really believed in the importance of school. Skinner really believed in the importance of raising children correctly. I think that Skinner has a lot of truth. The problem I have with Skinner, and I think it's common sense.
Is he still alive?
No, he died in 89, I think, 1989. Skinner was an extremist. He thought that his theory was it. And if there are things he couldn't explain, he said if you gave him something his theory couldn't explain, he would suggest he needs more data because his theory can explain everything. His theory could explain how a kid growing up in East wherever, worst place in the world, overcome 10,000 things of adversity, and then has gone on to be something amazing. Skinner would simply say, yes, 90%, 95, 99% of that child's environment is bad, but there was enough in that child's environment that was good. It took one teacher, one inspirational Sesame Street TV show to inspire that child to change their reward and punishment structure. To me, I'm like, that's a little stretch. Go ahead.
Prove that.
Skinner's thing. That's a problem when you're dealing with humans, because unless you raise a human being in a lab where you control for everything, you can't. So one of the Skinner's good side is he controlled everything with rats. So he did have good data in a perfect lab, but can we apply rat behavior to humans? Therein lies the problem with Skinner. Skinner, on one hand, was a champion of public education. He said, if we have the right school, the right environment, we can make a child do anything through the right systems, rewards, and punishment. What if you have a kid come to a public school from a bad environment? According to Skinner, can't fix him. Well, can you? You can with the right system of rewards and punishments?
Why is it so cold in here?
Because there's not a lot of degrees. What kind of question's that? What's wrong with you, child? All right, then. We need to know something about Skinner boxes.
See, that just sounds like creepy.
Oh, it was pretty creepy, especially when you put babies in them.
See, it's just disgusting.
Okay? But the reality is Skinner boxes are a metaphor for our life, for a cubicle, for a classroom. If you press the right button, you'll get a paycheck. You press the wrong button, you get a speeding ticket. You get smacked down by your boss. You say the wrong joke, and someone looks like, that wasn't funny. You're like, oh, you had to be there. Anyone ever said a joke that totally bombed? And you're like, never mind. Have you ever told that joke again? In the Swope Industries labs, I have my team furiously working on a 3-sided sticker. How cool would that be? 3-sided sticker.
You can't make it 3-sided.
I know, that was the whole point of the joke, people.
That wasn't funny.
Finally! So you know what? I say something, I got punished, I'm not going to share. But you guys actually won that exchange, because now you won't get to hear about my bottomless shoes or my dehydrated water. You're not even going to know about that one. All right, then. Can we go on to this?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, then. On your mark, set. Let's look at this thing called a Skinner box. And the reason, as much as we might find it creepy, because maybe we feel bad for the rat or for whatever, the thing about a Skinner box is you're controlling every research variable. You're controlling confounding variables. You're controlling lurking variables. You control everything about that rat's existence. So now, if you get rid of all variables, we've got this magical thing that rarely happens in psychology called causation. We can say that we know what caused the rat's behavior. In humans, we don't know. If someone reacts unpredictably and violently, and there's a school shooting or a mass shooting in a workplace, all the news people get on, like, what caused it? What caused it? What caused it? It's ridiculous. You can't never know, because you didn't know everything that happened in that person's life. But in a rat Skinner box, you can basically get rid of all extraneous variables, and now you have causation. If the rat presses the bar, it will get food. And you know what that means? The rat will press the bar again. If the rat presses the bar and you shock the floor, you know what that means? The rat won't press the bar again. And you can really kind of ramp this up. You can say, I'm going to let the rat press the bar, but only if the light's on. I'm going to let the rat press the bar and get food when the light's on, but if the rat presses the bar when there's a buzzer sound, then it will get shocked. And the rat will quickly learn to discriminate and distinguish between different conditions. And the reality is, this is how we all learn. If a classroom is a Skinner box, you have learned when to say something, when to write stuff down, when to be quiet, when to sneak food at the back of the class. All right. You need to learn that a little bit better. Come on, Jags. Okay, A, that's your problem. You can't shush the teacher. That's not how it works. What's wrong with you people? Who says we're not learning in this class?